10 toes behind Jesus. 10 toes behind Jesus. 10 toes behind Jesus. I started 10 toes. You know how it go. Used to have waves, now I wear a big nappy fro. Then I fell down. Couldn't believe it until I stood up 10 toes behind Jesus.
What's up, guys? Welcome to 10 Toes Behind Jesus podcast. My name is Brittany, and it's so nice to meet you. Y'all, this is episode 1 of very, very many. I'm so excited to tell you all about the vision God has given me, the assignment that He's put me on. I truly believe it's time for us Christians to really stand up and start being the light He wants us to be. So, I was about to say you all know, but this is the first episode, so you all don't know. But I originally started this to raise money to finish the build of a church in Mexico that I visited earlier this year. So you see 10 Toes Behind Jesus shirts. If you click the link, go to the website, you can cop a shirt. By the time I post this, I don't know if beanies will be in, but beanies are coming. I know it's about to get cold, and you can just donate money. You can be a part of a monthly sponsor, and all the funds are going to that cause. And I also recently met a pastor in Ukraine, and he's actually sheltering and feeding a number of people in Ukraine. So we got to keep them in our thoughts and prayers, especially as it's about to get cold. I'm from Alabama, so it snows like every 3 years maybe. And I know in Ukraine, their winters are really cold, snow everywhere. So, people are without homes, heaters and stuff. I don't know why I just said that, but I also have below, I'm gonna put the Amazon link. So he sent me a list of stuff that Ukraine needs, and hopefully I get the location where to send the stuff to. But I have an Amazon list, so you can check that out. Click something, buy something. That'll really help a lot because winter's coming up. But okay, so in today's podcast, before I get started, so if you're not financially stable, can't afford to buy or donate or anything, you can still make a difference. You can still help me along this journey by subscribing to this channel or whatever platform you're listening to this on, liking, sharing it with a friend. Like, everyone can have a part in this. So that's the good thing about it. Everybody contributes. So regardless of if you throwing bread out there or just subscribing, just sending it to a couple people, that's helping the cause as well too. But okay, so in today's video, I want to go over what made me start this. I kind of told you a little bit what originally made me start it, where the name came from, because, and my vision for this podcast, because there are two kind of separate things. Got like the business, selling t-shirts, and then the podcast. That's just me chopping it up about Jesus. So first I'll get started with what made me start this business. So like I said, I took I wouldn't even say mission trip, but it turned into one. So I took a trip to Mexico. I actually met the bishop over Mexico that's in our organization, and it was crazy. It was just so random how I met him. And I immediately went to introduce myself because I was a Spanish major, and maybe January 20th, I went to a camp, and God had spoken to me about translating for the church and stuff. So I immediately introduced myself to him, and he invited me to go to their council. And I'm like, whoa, and I was praying to God, how do I start? You know what I'm saying? I know what you told me to do and what you want me to do, but I don't know where to start. So it was just a blessing that God sent him my way. So yeah, I go to Mexico, and I meet the pastor there that's showing us around, and he's showing us all these different churches in our organization. And I just thought it was just amazing because growing up, I always thought that, it was like my church, and like I've heard of other churches, that's in the Pentecostal Assemblies of the World. That's my church organization. So to be in another country and seeing all that, it was awesome. So then the next day, he shows us his church in, I guess, the city that we're in. It's okay. Okay. So anyway, the next day he takes us to this town where he's building a church there, and it's like really, really secluded. It's an hour away, like long, like one road. It's very much secluded from like civilization. Wait, I don't think I should say that. It's away from like the city, whatever. So the community, like it has everything you need, so everyone just stays there. And so he says like, more and more people from the like town, community, village, I don't know what you can call it, but more and more people are coming to church there. So they're building a church, and they have a temporary church that's like a shed, right? He's like, we're outgrowing that. And so I'm looking at the church, and all it is like a foundation base. And so I'm like, oh, y'all just started building. And he's like, no, we've been building since 2008. And in my head, I'm like, okay, I've seen like firsthand the building process. I'm like, what in the world is taking so long? And he says they don't have enough funds to like continue all at once. They, get some money up, do little piece by piece and all that. And at that point, I was like, okay, we got to find a way to raise money and get some money so they can finish building this church, because I just know like what he's doing in that town, and what he's going to do with that church getting built, and, more and more people coming. And so I was like, yeah, we're gonna have to find a way to do this. But so I come home and I'm thinking like fundraisers and so this, and nothing's like boom, that's it. I called some like popcorn fundraisers and stuff, but I just didn't like the idea of some of the money going to like the company, like they get a percentage of however much, like I just didn't like that. I'm like, no. So anyway, I'm just, thinking of ways. The idea kind of leaves me. I'm like, okay, it'll happen eventually. I guess you can say I kind of lost motivation. And then our convention, which was, I think, 2 to 3 months later, the very last day after the speaker, one of the assistant presiding bishop, he comes up and gives his like the final remarks of the whole. I was there the whole week, and the whole week it was good. I enjoyed it, but I was waiting for that moment of like the light switching, you know what I'm saying? Like from off to on. Like I was waiting for that moment. And it's crazy because I went into that day like, God, like, please, this is the last day, like this is the last day, kind of like let me leave here with like mind you, I did enjoy myself and have a great time, but you all know what I'm talking about. It's like where you just want to feel a little bit more. So he gets up there and he's like, when I was growing up, I got tired of, asking people to do something and, not getting help and all this stuff. So I just did it myself. He was like, I started 2 businesses. I don't know about 2, but I started like some businesses, and they're like multi-million-dollar businesses. And so he was like, I just did it myself. It gets to a point where you just got to do something and stop waiting for people. And that really spoke to me. And I'm like, I just got to do something and stop just waiting for something to fall in my lap, even though this kind of did. But I was like, I got to do something. So I started really going to deep brainstorming. And I'm like talking to my mom, and my mom's all for it. Mind you, the pastor from Mexico and his wife, they came to the convention, and I didn't know that they were going to be there. I was actually in the service one of the days, and I look up on the screen and I see them on the screen, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, looking around, I'm like, no way, they are not here. They are not here. And this how good God is, y'all. So I have to like talk to them after the service, of course. And then that next morning, I'm walking to get some breakfast at this place. Y'all, I see them sitting on a bench, like just sitting down chilling. And so I'm talking to them. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy to see y'all again. I mean, I knew I would see them probably later at church. I was like, I'm happy to see y'all again. I'm like, what are y'all doing? And they're like, well, we're trying to get something to eat, but we don't have a translator or anybody to translate for us. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, I'll help you guys. Like, and I was like, what restaurant do y'all want to go to? And they pointed, and that's the exact restaurant I was going to. And that was my first time going to that restaurant too. So I was just like, this is awesome. So I got to see them again, which was so exciting. And I got to use my Spanish and brush up on it because, I mean, I don't want that to, like die down, or I don't know, that's the word. I don't want to lose that at all. So it was really a blessing. So anyway, so we're back on. I kind of went all the way around the world. Okay, so after the convention, go home, brainstorm, talking with my mom, like, is this a good idea? Is that a good idea? And so I was fasting that Tuesday, and it's like God just dropped in me, sell t-shirts to raise money. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm like, okay, well, like, what's the name? And he was like, 10 Toes Behind Jesus. Okay, pause. Like, okay. So that's not just random that came because I actually would use the saying, I'm 10 toes behind this. Really when I would be telling my friends about what I'm doing in ministry and like how I'm involved in working at my church, because, growing up and even in college, I was never like, I want to work at my church. Like, just honestly speaking, I never said that. And so they're, checking up with me, like, what's going on? What you doing? So I'm telling them I'm working at church. I love it. It's awesome. God has been blessing. And they're like, oh, okay. So, like, what's your plans after that? Like, what are you, like, what you doing? Sorry, y'all. I want the shirt to show. And I'm like, no, like I'm 10 toes behind this. Like, I'm in this life for life. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yes. So I've been saying that this whole past year to my friends. So for 10 Toes Behind Jesus to come, I was like, you know what? I like that. I love that. I was like, we can work. We can work with this. We can work with this. So that is how this got started. Okay? And that's how the name came about. So for this podcast, my vision and goal is just to build up a community of people who also are 10 toes behind Jesus, or people who are striving to be 10 toes behind Jesus. Like, what does it mean? What does it look like? And to know that Jesus is 10 toes behind us. So it's only right, and we owe it to him to also be 10 toes behind him. So, yeah, I'm looking forward. We're going to be dropping every Monday morning. Because the phrase, start your week off with Jesus, that kind of came to my mind. So every morning, 8 a.m., y'all get up, tune into the podcast, engage, subscribe, like, all those things, comment some stuff. I'm really looking forward to, like, really being, like, I want to say close, really being like, we're brothers and sisters in Christ. So, let's get to know each other. Like, when you're struggling, you can lean on me. When I'm struggling, I'm hoping that I can lean on you guys. So things like that, just to, help people. And like I said, just be a light to the world. People are depending on us, and we can't let them down, because at the end of the day, if we let them down, we're letting Jesus down. So you don't want to do that. And I'll tell you this. So the way I am, I have always considered myself an entrepreneur, but without a business. So, like, I literally had in my Instagram bio, entrepreneur, for like probably a year now with no business, because that's just how my mind is. Like, I can't really fit into like one thing, one area. So I have been waiting to start my own business, but nothing made sense. And that was so frustrating for me because I know that I have all these ideas. I have all these like good ideas. I should low key like auction them off because I'm like, maybe it's not for me, but if somebody takes this, they could be like really successful with it. So it would kind of frustrate me. And I mean, this past year of me working at my church, I love it and I enjoy it, but I always knew God is calling me to do something bigger. And I was like, what though? Like, what is it? And so, God just came at the right time. And of course, like, I'll be honest with you all, I'm I'm like, I'm not gonna say scared or fearful, but the past few weeks leading up to this, I've been like super hesitant and sometimes like doubtful, like, okay, are you sure? Are you sure this is it? Because this is honestly kind of like a scary thing to do. And for me, like, I've never been vocal about my relationship with God. I've never been the one to like post and stuff. But I mean, it just now it's just me. Like, it's my life. And so, and I also said that too, like, this is my life. This is my life. And so for God to give me this, I'm so thankful because like I just have been waiting on something to start to do this. And the cause behind it, like, it's just so perfect and fitting for me and my heart. Like, God truly knows the desires of your heart better than you even know. So this whole thing has just, I mean, I know this is like the first episode, but I didn't mean to be getting deep like that. But just know, I mean, if you're like me or how I was, just wait a little bit longer. Pray and fast. I mean, it came to me when I was fasting. So if I didn't fast, like, who would have known how much longer it would have been? And I'll share this story, and that'll be the end of this first podcast. But the like 2 weeks or maybe even less than 2 weeks ago, I wore a 10 Toes Behind Jesus shirt to work for the first time. I got some samples, right? And so I wore a shirt for the first time, and I was going to wear something else, but at the last minute I decided to put this shirt on. I think because I was going to show my pastor. I told him about this, but didn't have like any shirts or anything yet. So I think I was going to show him that, I had it on. And a lady at my church, I actually consider her my mentor. She's an author, evangelist, a minister. And I would say her name. I have no problem saying her name, but I haven't talked to her about it, so I don't want to just be dropping names out. I'm sure she wouldn't mind though, but still, I didn't ask. But she comes to me and she said, God has really placed it on my heart to come talk to you, and I see a ministry in you, and it's almost like a baby, like something stirring, like a baby is like growing inside of you, like a ministry, like, and it's about to come out. But you got to make sure you're not distracted and you focus really hard so you birth this baby the exact way God wants it to happen. And I never told her about 10 Toes Behind Jesus. Mind you, we already in the works. We about to launch it. I haven't told her about 10 Toes Behind Jesus. She has no idea. I'm even wearing the shirt, but she doesn't even know. And for her to tell me that, and in my head, I'm like, we are this close away from launching. And so for her to say that and even use those terms like having a baby, because I used those same exact words talking to my friend about this a few days before. I was telling her, I was like, how they say like you're having a baby and this and that. And so I told him, I was like, it feels like I didn't say it feels like. I told him, I was like, I'm about to have like triplets because all this stuff like started out like I'm about to have a bunch of kids, And so for her to say that, and it was just so, I was crying because I was like, this is just too real. This is just too real. And so as good as it felt to know that God was basically like, you're on the right track, and yes, this is what I want you to do. I also had to be very cautious to what she was telling me. And so she was telling me, like, don't be distracted, like, really lock in. And she was like, pray, fast, like, increase those right now, like, because you need to make sure that when this baby comes out, it's no complications, it's no nothing, it's no this. And so I am so thankful that she told me that, because not that I don't feel like I was distracted, but I wasn't locked in as hard as I could. And so she told me that, and I listened. I increased prayer, I increased fasting, just make sure that this goes well and how Jesus wants this to work and not myself. So yeah. Oh, so also after she tells me this, she tells me, she's like, all right, that's all. And she tries to leave. And I was like, wait, can I tell you something? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, I'm actually about to start a business of, trying to raise money for missions and building God's kingdom, shirts and all this. And then she started crying because I'm like, you can't make this up. Like, God is real. God is good. You cannot make this up. So, that was just a quick little one of many testimonies, I guess you can say, that are going to be coming forward. Yeah, so y'all, I'm excited. I hope you're excited. Please, please, please subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and really just to keep track of the journey. You know what I'm saying? The video in this intro, that is the church grounds in Mexico. So imagine us all starting right here together, and let's see where we're at in a year. Will we have a church built there in a year? To God be the glory. I'll never put any limits on God, and my dreams are big. So that's all for episode 1. I love you guys so much. Don't forget to say 10 toes behind Jesus, because he's 10 toes behind you. And I'll see you all next Monday. Be blessed. Bye.